It's Robert Redford, better known as Bobby Tuna. Truly one of my friends, and I don't call a lot of people friends in this, industry. Well, I was there the day when I walked out to catch some air in the morning. I think one outside doing the same. And I literally ran into him. I couldn't get back up to my hotel room for another hour. As Bobby explained to me a lot about Florida medical cannabis, and of course his life. We talked about Donald Trump this morning, Bobby. Spark and Save Florida and the new legal adult use campaign, which we get to. But I can kind of close my eyes now and I see orange hair and orange suit. And Bobby is fortunately long time spent in prison for cannabis. You can tell the story. Sure, you can do the vision of Donald Trump. I know you're 45 minutes away from our Bobby, and by people started to call the FBI the Gestapo. Seriously, I'm really it's getting dangerous now. We're the justice normalcy and yes is he wanted to tear down. He was thrown in for 30 years of prison. Whatever. So interesting.
All the thousands of people I've met seriously guilty, sounded exactly like Trump said. They framed me. The FBI has been both political. It was.
A raid this morning. It comes out unarmed, ununiformed. Okay, plain clothes. Investigators came in, and I think the interesting thing is they firmly believe that there was an insider that pointed them exactly to some documents. Like copies of the nuclear codes, for example.
It's gonna be his daughter. Because like when you saw those tapes, you knew she was like, oh my God, this guy, even for her own father, was going down like that.
Right now, from Mark.
No, it could have been anybody who worked for him. Don't forget, half the employees there have sued him over and over again for back pay, refusal to pay overtime, working them 20 hours a day, and their tips got stolen.
Yeah.
All the tips were on paper.
Yeah.
And there've been big lawsuits down here because of all of that. And it could have been anybody. It could have been the guy who sweeps the floor to turn him in.
But the willingness of Marco Rubio and Rick Scott on down, okay, to right away not understand. Don't you want to know what they went in to find? Yeah, before you say that it was a raid on the American people?
Rubio's a shake change. He'll change for $50 in any direction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so offended by their stand for law and order. Okay, they're well, no, now it's completely flipped over this schmuck. I know you understand that word,
Well, let's try to make it clear. Most people in this country, certainly people on the East Coast, have known what Trump is for a long time. My first impression was when he swam over the East River and announced he was going to show all the big time developers what a real estate man can do. And he kept screaming, and I'm not a slumlord, I'm not a slumlord. Because that's what his whole family was known for. In Brooklyn, they were the biggest slumlords. They were sued millions of times. You know, the grandfather was a fugitive from Germany, a draft dodger, just like the whole family. But I can remember, I think it was the New Yorker, or maybe the New York Times, their Sunday magazine, had a picture of Trump sitting on a big yellow earth mover, shirtless, with a hard hat. And I happened to be with friends from the teams. He said Trump wouldn't even know how to get on that thing without help. And he never built so much as a Lego castle. So that was the introduction. Then, you know, you find out that they sent him to military school when he was young, not because they were a military family.
Yeah.
When we were kids, that was punishment.
Punishment. 'Cause he
And
couldn't
in
be
his
involved.
case, it was because they knew he was a sociopath,
Sociopath.
that he was a psychopathic liar,
Yeah.
that no matter how much good telling the truth would do, he was incapable of it.
Yeah,
So
here we
they
are.
sent him to military school. Now he's got to have help getting into college. So he goes to college in Brooklyn for a couple of years. And his brother, who had a good connection at the U of Penn with the bursar, gets him in. Now he announces that he graduated from, what do you call it, the business.
Yeah, Wharton.
Important.
He claimed to graduate from Wharton with top honors. He never
Yeah,
went to Wharton. He couldn't get into Wharton
Important if you
for
try.
$1 million. They had to slide him into the university. He took one business course, which is given by Wharton, because Penn owns Wharton. And the instructor said, and this is the only educational quote I ever found. The instructor Wharton said he was the dumbest of the bitch. To deep. And to
But he's
this
like
day-
Goebbels.
Huh?
But he's like Goebbels in so many ways. In
Yeah,
the way
he's-
he can manipulate public opinion, Bobby. I'm
He's a
amazed.
low IQ showman. That's really what he is.
You're-
And
You know, the chop.
you know, I recognize him in a second, but he's not even good at that. Here's a guy who
Sure.
failed at a dozen businesses,
Oh, he's feeling
never had
sick.
one that made a nickel. He lived off his father's money, investors' money, fools' money.
And now grifted money. See,
Lost almost every piece of real estate he ever owned. His golf courses, which he still holds on to, lose $1 million to $3 million a year each. And this is the guy they want to follow. The last time he told the truth would have been the first time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's stunning. It's really stunning.
It is.
And it's scary and it's dangerous because of the inflammatory rhetoric, quite frankly, that people are buying into. Like I said, Bannon and Trump, you know, they wanted to destroy our government. They wanted to destroy institutions, tear them down. They've done a damn good job. This election coming up in a couple weeks starts the cycle of what we're leading into with the midterms.
Oh, we have a quick, oh, okay,
It's
hold on
awesome.
1 second, you guys, we have a quick
Love
question from the
questions.
audience.
Did Bobby paint the black Tuna picture beside him?
Oh.
Well, I was gonna get to that.
Did you paint the picture that's behind you?
no, that was Michael Alcea. He donated that when I ran the fishing tournament for all the released prisoners, the guys who got out of prison in the last couple of years.
Awesome.
And of course, veterans organization that truly runs, and put them together. And we had 60 people out at a fabulous fishing tournament where we had a great time.
I was. I was
Party.
gonna get to that one. You know, just to wrap up the political side, everybody register, vote.
I think it's already too late to register.
Well,
but
well, that's
go
probably
vote.
true.
Yeah, it is.
Vote
Go
if you got your
vote,
ballots, make
go
sure you
vote.
turn them in.
Go get vote early, vote often.
Vote like your freedoms depend on it. Listen, and you know, we're allowed to be partisan here. I was honored to introduce Nikki Fried at the KushCon, which is a whole nother conversation.
I
About it.
adore Nikki Fried. And when she announced, I made a nice donation to her campaign. But at this point, I'm kind of holding back see if she gets the nomination.
Of course.
Charlie, Charlie Chris
I'm gonna support
has
Charlie
been
if he
here.
wins the primary, of course.
I want to hear, what did you say about Charlie? I want your opinion of Charlie Crest.
Charlie's an old war horse, been here forever. He wouldn't be the worst thing for Florida, but he sure wouldn't be the best either.
Best either.
What he has going for him is he knows everybody, he knows the politician.
Yeah, he knows
knows
both
the
sides
system.
because he's been on both sides, so.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy.
so-
But it's like, okay, who we got? Charlie. We'll put Charlie up again. And people can't get excited
No,
They get excited
there's no
about
other-
Nikki.
Yeah, you have to be excited about a candidate. I
Yeah.
mean, Nikki, the good thing about Nikki is when Nikki, she hits she's hitting the pavement hard. And when people meet her and see her and hear her, they get energized because she does bring a refreshing voice to politics and into, this race. Because I think a lot of it's, I don't know, I know the party's towing the Chris line and they're just saying, they think he has a better shot at beating DeSantis. But I don't know that would be true because I think Nikki, should she get nominated, Nikki has I think she's going to pull a lot of the female votes and she's going to pull the youth. So long as the youth votes, but problem is the youth doesn't vote. So
The youth better vote or the
need
youth
to
is
vote.
gonna vote or is gonna live for the next 30 years under a theocracy.
Yeah.
A
the youth
theocracy,
have to wake
everybody,
up.
which should scare the heck out of everybody.
Yeah,
And
a by-election is tough to get the youth vote.
it is.
The by-election is where it falls down. That's why Prop 19 didn't pass in California the first time, because of by-election. There was very little youth vote, and nobody bothered to talk to seniors. What got me started with the silver.
But
That's why I
seniors
started the
vote.
whole
But
thing.
it's like statistically, those seniors vote. They do vote.
Yeah, they always vote. They
They always
value their
They
vote.
do. They
And
always
that's
vote.
what was needed in California. That's
Yeah.
what was needed in Florida. Without the senior vote, we didn't make it first time.
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about what's going on in Florida, Bobby. So, one of the reasons, once again, besides and I knew you would have some fantastic opinions on what's going on, like I said, down on your coast. So what's going on in Florida, excitingly so, and I know you.
All right, let's run it from the beginning. It
Let's
started
go.
with Tim Russell. He started Puffin. This was what brought us to where we are today. I mean, there were some other starts and fits before, but meaningless. Puffin was a grassroots organization. There were only 2 of us in South Florida collecting signatures. Then we got more and more and more people.
What year
we
was that?
found it.
Bobby?
Huh?
What year was that?
2008, 2009,
Okay,
when I got out of prison. I was the first volunteer in South Florida. And we'd go out, I'd have a great day. I'd do 200, 300 signatures at a concert. But at the end of the week, we picked up a couple thousand signatures. And it seemed obvious that we weren't going to get what was needed. Back
How
in
many
those
did you
days,
need
we
back
only
then?
needed about 400,000. But there was no chance. We weren't making progress after over a year. And that's when Morgan jumped in, put in the money that was
Putting a
needed.
lot of money in.
Wasn't too well organized in the beginning. And so the first effort failed. We didn't make the ballot because of the senior vote. And I can remember Morgan, who was drinking pretty heavy at the time, doing an interview with, I think he was at a bar. And he said, yeah, we lost. It was because of the old vote. But don't worry, they'll all be dead next time. I mean, that was a hell of a say. But
I don't know.
with all his faults, without his money, without his organization,
Yeah, wouldn't have gone.
none of
there.
us would be sitting here talking to each other.
Yeah, agreed.
So I give him all the credit in the world. But where we are today is vastly different. The state has raised the bar where you need over 1 million signatures. They've got to be county specific.
Hmm.
They've made it damn near impossible.
Yeah, they love doing that.
As you know, I was on the board of Regulate, and I love what Regulate's trying to do, but we had a problem with our petition through the Supreme Court. Number two, we never raised the kind of money get polling companies. Pay them.
Now,
There
you're a little,
is no-
you're a little.
there is no other way.
Yeah, you're a little in and out, Bobby, but what you're explaining is exactly right. There needs to be money behind every effort. Don, do you have that queued up? So hang on for a second, Bobby.
All right, let's do that.
I want to play the Bellamy Brothers video. So here's what's going on, everybody.
Yeah.
Good. Then we'll talk about what's happening today.
Then you see if you can smooth that out a little bit. The new legal adult use campaign constitutional amendment, which will attempt to get onto the ballot in 2024, November 2024. As Bobby was explaining, almost impossible now to get a constitutional amendment onto the ballot for a lot of reasons. One very specific reason that's important to this amendment is that it needs to be narrow and single
It needs a
issue
single issue
only. And past efforts have failed at the Supreme Court review level.
And this is all to legalize marijuana.
And it's all to legalize
and
adult
adult
possession and use,
yeah.
right? So Truly
Exactly.
has started a new, it's called Smart and Safe Florida campaign. It seems, Bobby, and I'll get your comment on it after we play the video, to be completely separate from any past effort, not connected to regulate, not connected to Floridia for Freedoms, but actually headed by a new group that is fronted by the Bellamy Brothers, famous country and Western group from Florida, who has actually a Truly brand line, as do you. Were you involved in any of that discussion? Did you have any heads up of what was going on?
I'll bring you up to date after you show the video.
All right, let's
I'll
go.
tell you what's really going on with all of that.
All right, because what this demonstrates is how slick this campaign is going to be, because this was very well done, in my humble opinion.
Not
All right.
slick, professional.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's done professionally.
Yeah, let's see if we can get it.
Because they have the money.
Well, it is money,
So
and
it's
we'll
always
see who else gets in. You ready? Right, we won't be able to see it necessarily.
Music fans, I'm David Bellamy of the Bellamy Brothers. We're excited to announce that together with our partners, we are launching a new initiative in our home state of Florida. It's better looking and more technically good. As we travel this country, we see the constant benefits of adults enjoying the freedom to use cannabis. Almost half of Americans now legally enjoy this freedom, and we know Floridians are ready, more than ready, to finally stop arresting adults who use marijuana. To ensure everyone's safety in a system that allows adults over 21 to safely use cannabis products and avoid illicit or illegal sales, and let freedom ring in Florida. We are spearheading this effort and hope you will join us and help our campaign Smart and Safe Florida succeed. Our support for this effort and home grow efforts continue. Let it ring and help us, let your love flow. You have to go there, Dan. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream and let your love grow. I'm in. Are you?
I didn't know that was on.
It's funny.
Is that song?
So listen, I think everybody would agree that that's
Very nice.
as slick as it gets. And
Very well done.
the thing is, they speak to the safety and regulatory side of it. Also, they do, which is interesting also. But I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, here's what's going on with them, what excites me. Everything Truly is done, they've done very good. As you know, they were the only dispo that advocated for opening up licensing for home grow, for adult use. All the others were against it. They're not anymore. They were. Truly has worked very quietly. They kept this under wraps. They've spoken to the politicians. They've spoken to the lawyers. They've spoken to the judges. They're confident that this will be the first petition actually sails through. And of course, the key,
It's gonna be that easy though, through getting it through the legislators. Like, I don't know.
There have been meetings and meetings already. They wouldn't have announced unless they were. That's my impression. You know, I'm talking off the top of my head, but I've been with Truly started. I've watched Kim Rivers just do amazing things.
Mhm.
He was the one who got us flour. Remember, she started with the little cups when they said no flour. He has pioneered and pushed, but done it here. I mean, let's face it, they're well connected up in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, looked like political end was taken care of. So,
Yeah, well,
and
I
think
agree with you,
care of,
Bobby.
they're not going to fight.
Or yeah.
In principle, I agree with you. However, here's the point, and this is the point I make to my patients. And, you know, we see patients every day. They want to know what's going on. As I explain it to them, listen, first off, it's got to get on the ballot. Okay, so that's November of 2024. Then it's got to pass. And then even if it passes, it actually, the wording of it charges the legislation or the legislature
Yeah.
with fashioning the program, with
And then you
implementing
have-
the
And
program.
you still have to have a governor sign off, and it, depending on who's in seat, it's gonna still. play
So
a big-
even at its best, because we know how medical
No,
went
it's
with
okay.
implementation, and we know there's still many up there that will push back. It's going to be at least a year to 2 years implementation process till the first adult sale. I looked to New York.
Well, it's specified 6 months.
I didn't see. that.
Okay, that's okay. Maybe so. I saw that.
That's a
in
good
there.
target date.
I saw that in there, but I'm still skeptical. New York, for example, which is obviously much more liberal northern state, voted on their legal adult use bill, and they're still not selling it through the MMTCs. But what I tell patients is this: we got to keep our taxes on the medical side at zero. You know, if there's any one thing that we know is going to happen in legal adult use bill, you know there's going to be taxation. And I know that one of the things that the advocates are concerned about, of course, are the social equity issues. Where's the tax money going to go? You know, the horizontalization of the program. You know, you're going to see people asking, of course, about home grow, which can't be in this particular constitutional
No,
amendment.
well,
because
that
we don't-
brings us to where we are today. The haters have two main things, and you know, they put it up on my Facebook and then Twitters, and where's social equity and where's the home grow? We demand home grow. Well, in order to get through the Supreme Court, home grow has to be a separate issue. And they already planned for it. I believe they've already got a bill written, very simple, for home grow, and home grow will be taken care of. And to tell you the truth, it's a lot of noise about very little, because between 1% and 2% of the people will grow their own,
Yeah.
and
No doubt.
half of them will fail. They just won't, you know, do what's necessary, grow good medicine. So we'll get home grow, and it'll come along with adult use. Adult use we need desperately in this state. We're a tourist state. We're losing tourist money, and we're losing university money. Our students are going to Colorado, California. A lot of them are going up
Yeah.
plus they're legal states. They don't have to worry about getting their med and having their
Well, no,
relaxation.
listen, just to pull politics back into it, I say that if you tighten up your availability of reproductive rights, you know, that college students will start to elect to go to certain states, because, you know, God forbid you would get pregnant, you know, in Florida when you were a college student, and you can't make the decisions that you may want to make. I say athletes also, Bobby, watch some of these these really high paid athletes make decisions about going to states that have more cannabis freedom, okay, reproductive freedom, you know, seriously. I see the United States of America breaking up, quite frankly, because of the Supreme Court decisions that are allowing states, right, to make decisions, and many times by minority, right, gerrymandered state legislators, right, such as Florida, which is scary. And you know, Bobby, let's talk a little bit about Delta 8 And Delta 9, of course, you have a cannabis brand through True Leave, and I see you're wearing it proudly on your sweatshirt. And listen, it's fantastically grown and cultivated cannabis. It is, and I think those of us in Florida, that our patients, know that. What's your feeling about what you see out there in the non-regulated, right, cannabis world, the non-medical cannabis world? I mean, don't you have some degree of fear that if we don't do it right, that there's
Every
gonna be a lot of cultivators
unsubstantiated
out there that
claim
are
is
not
gonna
doing it
hurt.
like you are?
Every unsubstantiated claim hurts. And every time one is exposed, it sets the whole movement back. No, I'm not in love with what's happening in the CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9. And I've just distanced myself from the whole argument, because I can do what I can do. And right now, I'm interested in adult use. And what I'm going to do with Silver Tour very soon is start a national campaign, push us over the edge for the next really good bill in Congress. But for what's happening here, when I spoke to really people yesterday, they assured me that they're going to continue to support. And what worries me about that, Mike Minardi runs Regulate, is on my board of directors, Silver Tour. He worked with us on legalization, worked with us, Silver Tour. But to run both those campaigns simultaneously, want to confuse people. We did it before. Last time we were collecting petitions, said, okay, we'll collect the freedom for Florida Can, and it only ended up a mess. I would like to see Regulate, although I've resigned from the board, I still work with them, I'm still very close, support them, and Florida Can get on board with that's
Well, that's my
we
intention
have our
in today's
most
conversation, Bobby.
strength when we work together. It happened in the past. In the past, I was very proud that we all worked together, and now we've got to do it again. Need adult use in Florida, and the way we're going to get it is for all of us. Regulate Florida Can. We got to get Jody on board, Mike on board, and to be honest with you, I'd like to see other petitions just support what we'll get the homegrown net. It's already been discussed and for a month.
Well, listen, I hope you're right, Bobby, and that is absolutely positively my intention of opening up this discussion early so that we can absolutely all do the best that we can to pull on this rope together, no doubt about it. And
I was really proud of Florida when I watched Ohio fall apart because everybody was pulling in a different direction. I've seen it in California for the past 2 years since they fully legalized, every county running and pulling in a different direction, different organization. I was so proud that in Florida, we all knew each other, we all worked together, and we had a goal and we got there. Now we've got another goal. It's so important, not only for adult use, but for medical, Barry. They should not go buy a card, renew medical. My buddy, Dr. Murphy, he said to you, every time I go in and renew, Bobby, he says, nobody should have to pay for this medicine. They should be able to walk in and ask for what they need, they want. This whole setup is ridiculous. And, and I'm with him. There are so many patients who don't have a card because they can't afford it, and they'll friggin' die.
Listen, I'm all there with you, and the preservation of medical on the educational side, the labeling and the testing side, okay? Making sure that those products that medical patients use the ratio products, the patches, the creams, even the suppositories. If we don't continue to insist upon that, right, then we know those things can melt away. So my goal will be to work alongside those who are working for that safe, legal adult use pathway with home grow, with all of our social equity issues that we're all fighting for. But we know it's incremental, step by step. That's Florida. We have to work together to make sure those things happen. Job protections will continue to be my first and foremost issue that I'm going to fight for my patients, so that people can utilize cannabis safely and appropriately to live better lives, to go to work the next day ready to go, and living their best life right now. And that's what's going to happen in legal adult use, Bobby, if it's done appropriately with the right education. You know, I mean, Tommy Chong was the one that said it's all medicine. So I think we need to recognize that even as we go forward with the legal adult use campaign, which I do support, that we still do it with respect, that we do it with education. You know, I've always been in favor of one safe substance use class that everybody has to take before they walk into a medical cannabis dispensary. It includes a discussion about alcohol, opiates, cannabis, yes, too. What's an edible compared to an inhalable? Okay.
Like they do in Israel.
It just makes sense to me. And I've offered to write the course, okay, for the state and to work with those that would implement it. That to me is a great solution, because you have to take the course to get the card. And once you have the card, you can walk in and show your card in the dispensary as a legal adult use purchaser. And it may be over-regulated for some people's, minds. I got it. But if the state wants to track that you're buying an ounce a month or this or that, listen, I say this about how the legislature can get involved, Bobby. And, I only raise these issues just for further thought. They may want to put a THC cap on rec flower. You listen.
I mean, we've been down this road for 3 years now.
Of course we have, but those people are still up in Tallahassee. So I'm not being an alarmist about it. I'm just saying we need to stay involved. Make sure that we're holding people's feet to the fire. Make sure that, and here's the solution on the hemp side, Bobby, because I'm telling you, one of the big battles is going to be how open will the system be? How horizontal will it be? How easy will it be? The people that have the and some of them are great, higher quality hemp purveyors right now, they should have CBD, CBG, CBC. That was my yik-yak with them, okay, at KushCon, was that I don't want your Delta 8, 10, 6, or any of that. I've already got ratio cannabinoid products to do that for my patients, but give me more CBG, CBD, CBN, those other higher quality cannabinoids that maybe we're not getting, okay, from the MMTCs right now, and then I'll send some people your way, right? I say that all those people are going to be fighting for their share of the legal adult use market as we go forward, right? So it's going to be really, really interesting. But I share your positivity to the extent of the money that I think is going to flow into the campaign, the intentions of the parties that are behind it, which I do believe are positive. So I'm going to be a positive force, the best that I can be, as I know that you will be. But I think we need to be very cognizant of a legislature that may not be as positive as I know you want them to be, slow down and really standing the way. I saw the 6 months in there too, and I was heartened by that. So,
Yeah, well, that brings me to the punchline. My punchline is, I believe the legislature is very aware how well financed and how well organized this effort is going to be. Much better organized than Morgan's effort. And, he had a good organization he put together, but this is going to be so much more professional.
oh, I
It's
agree.
going to be done. And I think it's going to scare hell out of the legislature, and that they will start pushing bills through in order to prevent this bill from going
Well, that may
through.
be.
So
that may
either
be.
way, I think
Maybe.
we'll get adult use. And I believe what I believed before, when the state started regulating our medical, that our best friend is the court. In the end, courts sided with us on almost everything we want. We got edibles, we got flour. There were a number of terrific cases. Some of them our buddy Mike Minardi did. But we're at a different place now. And when we started, especially when I started the Silver, there was no Dr. Barry's. Now, you know, there's a dozen doctors out educating, and they're teaching courses, some of our universities. It was unheard of a few years ago. I love where we've gotten to, but I know we're not where we.
No, you're 1,000% right, Bobby, and I thank you for really blazing that trail. Well before I got to Florida, I tell everybody I picked up the football at about the 50-yard line and have kind of, you know, run towards the goal line. We're far from there, but we're surely much better off than we were 5.5, 6 years ago. I know when I started the clinic. So listen, as time always goes in the green room, I have patience. And
So everybody get out there and vote. Early voting's on in most precincts and in most counties, so go ahead out. You can vote by mail. If you're a vote by mail person, send that in. If not, most of the polling places are open and taking votes, so go out there and vote.
right. And Bobby, I know
Trust.
we'll be back with the Silver Tour probably, hopefully soon after COVID. I look forward to coming over to the other coast and fishing with you. And I wish you well. Stay safe and healthy.
And Vote Will Travel, thanks for having me on. Thank everybody. Thank Truly for what they're doing. And thank you all for loving Black Tuna, because it's the best-selling strain in this whole damn state.
And congratulations on that.
Awesome. Have a good weekend.
See you next week.